Our members, good morning. A very warm welcome to you and to all others present in the Council chamber on this, the 29th of October, 2024. To witness this month's proceedings of Minister's Question Time. A very good morning to you, too. Thank you for sharing your time with us. And the welcome and good morning wishes also extend to those who may be tuned in to SAMS Radio 1 to listen live to this parliamentary broadcast. We welcome back Councillor Turner, having attended the UK Overseas Territories Project Forum on the oversight of public finances and good governance held in Westminster, London. Councillor Stroh, who participated in the CPA Advanced Parliamentary Development Residency Program in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. Minister Brooks, who attended a Go Climate Finance Forum in Belgium, and Minister Henry, who attended a Blue Planet Alliance conference in Hawaii. We look forward to seeing all of your reports. And Minister Henry, hopefully you are able to meet with officials relative to your portfolio, both in UK and Pretoria, as was your intent. 6 of the 7 councils are available for this session, as Councillor Midwinter is away on CPA business. And Minister Brooks would not be present due to him departing the island today, weather permitting, of course, to represent the Legislative Council at the 67th CPC in Sydney, Australia. The topic that councillors chose for this session is public relations and communications. The Chief Minister was made aware of the topic ahead of this meeting, and an hour before Minister's Question Time commencing, the questions submitted were forwarded to ministers. According to established practice, the order paper would be published on the SHG website this morning. The business on the order paper includes an urgent question, which will be dealt with first. And then there are 6 questions listed as is usual in alphabetical order for selection randomly. All of the questions are directed to the Honourable Chief Minister. Because of agreed amendments to the standing orders, councillors are now able to ask multiple supplementary questions instead of just the one which was the case previously. Effectively, this also means it is possible for other ministers to give support answering questions once the minister to whom the question, in this case the Chief Minister, has been put, has acknowledged the original. Up to 1 hour has been allocated for all questions. If it appears that a question or questions is in danger of not being asked due to the time constraint, in accordance with Standing Order 9, Rule 15, the question that is not addressed may be addressed at a subsequent sitting. Just as a reminder, honourable members, please use your red light if you wish to speak. Apart from when there is a question on the order paper in their name, honourable members may rise on a point of order or a point of information, and you need to state which. As I always say, an important consideration is please don't draw the speaker's attention when someone else is speaking, because this person could be interrupted. Ms. Morgan Thomas Henry is our clerk and our timekeeper for this session. May we have the first item of business, please, clerk?
Urgent question.
Urgent question.
The Honourable Dr. Corinda Essex.
The Honourable Dr. Corinda Essex.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can the Honourable Chief Minister tell this House how St Helena Government intends to accommodate and integrate into the local community any persons who may arrive in the British East Indian Ocean Territory and be eligible for rerouting to St Helena?
Thank you, Honourable Chief Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Apologies to the community. Our speakers don't seem to be working very well this morning, but anyway, we're here now. I thank the Honourable Dr. Corinda Essex for the question. Just for reference at the stage, in the MOU at the back entitled Annex A was requirements that was listed as critical to implementation. So on signing of the MOU, UKG agreed to assist St Helena government by ensuring that in-person UKG Home Office support and capacity development to process applications, including preparatory work, which would be a training package for our SHG border control, would be put into place once the MOU was signed to ensure arrangement works once operational. Minister Alec will no doubt provide further details if necessary, but I know this work is on the way. The UK government has also agreed to provide legal support, foreign language support, and to help to bolster public service capacity and capability if required, and subsistence for the migrants would be catered for by the UKG. If any capital investment, logistical support and security is required to ensure basic infrastructure, this would also be provided by the UKG. UKG is also committed to resolving satisfactorily any liability falling on SHG as a result of this MOU, and we've spoken quite at length on the support from the UK Home Office now to sign an MOU with Minister Alec's portfolio, Safety, Security and Home Affairs, in respect of the transmission and use of information concerning passenger data to support the administration and enforcement of SHG customs, immigration and policing of border-related procedures. That will continue or will happen whether we receive migrants or not. That will be a service that will be provided to St Helena government. Portfolio directors, though, since the signing of the MOU and becoming aware of this new arrangement as of Wednesday, the 15th of October, portfolio directors soon after have been were asked to start to undertake early thinking of what would be required should we have arrivals. This has now been formalised into a small group who are responsible for developing, in conjunction with the UKG, a contingency plan that is holistic, proportionate, and adopts a multi-agency approach to receiving arrivals, assessing claim, and social integration. This is a high-level contingency plan, which is a live document which will be tweaked if necessary, if and when claims are received. On the UK government side, the planning has already commenced in collaboration with St Helena government, and this is including addressing issues such as transport arrangements for any migrants received in Bayat, agreeing a data set for sharing with the St Helena government, agreeing a screening process to ensure compliance with the security safeguards built into the MOU, ensuring any known health, safeguarding or language, etc. requirements are identified and communicated to SHG ahead of arrivals. Any other requirements to ensure professional handover that meets the expectations of St Helena ministers and best safeguards the effective Thank you. Say it again. Operationalization of the MOU. I don't know what's going on with me this morning. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. Honourable Dr. Corinda Essex.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the Honourable Chief Minister for her response. My question does not relate to screening or security procedures. My question relates specifically to accommodation and integration. So, will the Honourable Chief Minister state whether the specific costs associated with accommodating migrants will be paid by the United Kingdom government or from the St Helena budget?
Thank you very much, Honourable Chief Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As I thought I mentioned in detail here, that if any capital investment or logistical support is required to ensure basic infrastructure for accommodating, that will be catered for by the United Kingdom government. However, If, because we don't know how many migrants we're speaking of at the moment, if it means that we have 2, for instance, it might not mean that accommodation will need to be made available. We could potentially utilize some of the accommodation we have. But if it means that we've got additional numbers that requires us to organise accommodation, that will be paid for by the UKG.
Thank you very much. Honourable Dr. Corinne Essex.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So in the case where, for example, say Bradley's camp were used, would the actual associated costs be met from our budget or by HMG?
Thank you very much. Honourable Chief Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If there was any refurbishment costs associated to somewhere like Bradley's, that would be made available from the UKG. This is no financial burden on St. Helena government to accommodate potential arrival of migrants.
Thank you very much. Honourable Dr. Corinne Essex.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will the Honourable Chief Minister reassure the public that there are no plans to change the current policy relating to eligibility for government landlord housing to enable migrants to occupy social housing units?
Thank you very much. Honourable Chief Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. At this time, there is no intention of changing any policies. As I said before, the migrants will be catered for by the UKG if it comes at a cost to St. Helena government. If there's any costs associated, for accommodating the migrants. We are not looking to change any policy regarding landlord housing.
Thank you very much. Honourable Dr. Corinne Essex.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will the Honourable Chief Minister indicate which portfolio will have responsibility for the coordination of accommodating migrants and integrating them into the local community?
Thank you. Honourable Chief Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think, to be quite honest, I think this is too early to tell. There is, as I said before, liaison going on now with portfolio directors and necessary relevant officers. Safety, security and home affairs are very much in the lead when it comes to safeguarding. But if we are to move with accommodation, then we'll have to work out. At the moment, as you know, social housing comes under the Treasury and Economic Development portfolio, but we haven't at this time said which portfolio would be responsible for the organisation of migrants. But the team is working on that now with FCDO officials to go into the detail.
Thank you. Honourable Dr. Corinne Essex.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As I was given assurance that there's no suggestion of changing policies to enable migrants to live in government landlord housing, why does the Chief Minister suggest that it might be appropriate for the same portfolio to take responsibility for housing the migrants?
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As I said, the detail hasn't been put together yet. This is still in discussions. I only said what I said because I know you asked about social housing. So I said at the moment, landlord housing and assets, all assets, whether it's landlord housing, falls under Treasury and Economic Development. So if it's going to be that migrants have to enter any of government assets, whether that is landlord housing or indeed government assets, I would see it falling under Treasury and Economic Development because that is their responsibility for all government buildings. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honourable Dr. Corinne Essex.
I wish to thank the Honourable Minister for that, Chief Minister, for that clarification and for her responses to the questions, which hopefully will provide the public with some reassurance. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honourable Andrew Turner.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just to seek a small point of clarity, when the Honourable Chief Minister says if there are small numbers, we'll use the accommodation we have, is that referring to GLH properties or more to what were previously referred to as the Chief Secretary housing, although I forget what they're currently referred to?
Thank you. Honourable
Thank you,
Chief
Mr. Speaker.
Minister.
I think I will reiterate what I'm saying. We are in early discussions, so we don't know what numbers we're talking about, or indeed if anybody will arrive. But it would be, how can I say, it would be very hard for us to say to the UK government, you need to build or accommodate migrants. If we've got 2 or 3, we would then consider utilising some of our government buildings. Specifically which ones they are is difficult to tell at the moment, and whether they would be suitable for any particular migrants, because we'd need to assess the migrants to be able to determine if they would be able to integrate into the community and what are their other outside needs. So that will help to determine which buildings would become available. So it's very difficult for me to tell you at this time whether it would be Chief Secretary Housing or which buildings specifically we are talking about.
Thank you very much. Honourable Andrew Turner.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So, sort of a logical follow-on to that, as there's a lot of assessment processes that sound like they would need to go in place. What is the sort of the projected timeframes between the arrival of people on the British Indian Ocean territories and them arriving on St Helena?
Thank you. Honourable Chief Minister.
Again, Mr. Speaker, I feel like I'm rising to just say that this is being processed at this particular time. At no time has St Helena government or ministers suggested what the time frame would be. We will not accept any migrants arriving to St Helena until the screening has been completed and we receive the necessary data to make an informed decision. How long that will take at this particular time really depends on the work that's being undergone at the moment between UKG liaising with SHG officials. As we get all this information, and this type of information could be put into the public domain, by all means we'll do it. But again, it is down to a case-by-case basis. If you've got a potential migrant that's got a clean record, that would potentially be able to move on much faster than somebody who has gaps in their data that's being received. So it's very difficult for me to tell you at this time.
Thank you very much. Minister Henry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd just like to rise on a point of information because we are delving into the details of what would happen and we are preparing for what would happen if we do receive migrants. But I think it's also good to remind the listening public that that there is a chance, there's a very low chance of actually we receiving migrants, although we are preparing for it. We're not saying that, we made this decision based on none would come, but there's been no migrants on Buyout since 2022, which I think the public now knows. So it's just to confirm that while we are talking about if it does happen, the chances of it happening is somewhat low, but we are preparing nonetheless. Thank you.
Thank you for that information. If there are no further questions, we will move on. Clerk, next item of business, please.
Questions. The Honourable Dr. Corinda Essex.
The Honourable Dr. Corinda Essex.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I was hoping to have a slight pause, but never mind. Can the Honourable Chief Minister tell this Council what strategies are in place to communicate effectively with the St Helena diaspora?
Thank you, Honourable Chief Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the Honourable Dr. Corinda Essex for the question. I think it's important, however, that I first advise our listeners that the Communications Hub is relatively new, implemented at the end of last year when the structural change came about. So the listeners will hopefully remember we had Treasury Infrastructure and Sustainable Development, for example, that is now changed to Treasury and Economic Development. At the time, marketing was housed by the Treasury Infrastructure and Sustainable Development. Now it has come over to Central Support Services and hence comes under the Communications Hub. With that said, the comms team, like most other portfolios and sections within SHG, have been impacted by staff shortages and the creation of now new roles. Prior to this, for a period of 8 months, there was only 2 members of staff. Hence, it has been difficult to focus on reviewing and updating the essential communication strategy. This, though, is a primary priority for the new team now that a full complement of staff is in sight, with the head of marketing still to be recruited. This year, the branding manager was appointed in March, and we have a I said marketing manager, but it's not. And the head of comms was in May of this year. But more specifically to the question raised by Honourable Dr. Corinda Essex, when we look at how we communicate effectively with the St. Helena diaspora, we encompass using all digital social media channels, and we also use a range of communication tactics to the public. This includes social media, website, email correspondence, radio, they're the ones that organise all the radio conversations, TV and newspapers, and utilising our international PR companies. Communication is also done via FCDO and the UK representative, and they also do newsletters based on tourism and SHG newsletter. There's been direct marketing campaigns targeted at Reading sports attendees. They've also done Saints overseas surveys and utilising SHG staff and ministers when attending international conferences and meetings. And I'm sure when all of the team from Legislative Council goes off to whatever conferences that may be had, it is our aim to promote St. Helena. So those are just some of the things that they use to communicate effectively with the St. Helena diaspora. Outside of that, obviously, members will be aware that there's some work being done within human resources to focus primarily and assist the communications team with regards to recruitment, but that is work in progress at this time. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. Dr. Corinda Essex.
I thank the Honourable Chief Minister for her response. She stated that the strategy is currently being updated. Will that strategy contain specific reference to targeted communication with the Saint population overseas?
Thank you. Honourable Chief Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As I said, the new head of comms has only been in position since last month, so they are busy at this particular time collating data, and obviously having targeted communications with the overseas St. Helenian diaspora is a part of that. As I said, with regards to recruitment is one area, but noting the work that has been done previously, and we're talking about developing in these areas, I would like to think it has, but at this stage, that communication strategy, the review of it, hasn't hit my advisory board. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Honourable Dr. No. Next question, please.
The Honourable Ronald Coleman.
The Honourable Ronald Coleman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can the Honourable Chief Minister tell this Council what strategies are being considered for the use of new technologies for SHG communications?
Thank you very much. Honourable Chief Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So I think it's fair to say that we'll be moving digital by default when we think about the new website that we hope to launch this year. Funding is available for that to be done. And on the new website, it is hoped that we can integrate payment technologies where customers are able to complete, make payments and present forms all online. We are hoping that what is now provided, though, online, for those who aren't aware, is digital social media channels for both SHG and tourism, and we use platforms such as Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. The Communications Hub is responsible for the pre-recording for radio. They facilitate the Minister's Question Time on YouTube and SHG website, the uploadings of the recordings. They have established an SHG WhatsApp account, which is a business channel. In future, they're looking to utilise the government WhatsApp and tourism threads, which is all new technology, always looking how we can develop and improve our communications channels. As I said, and in these times of digital, SHG recognises that this is going to be the primary way forward, whilst also recognising, however, that we will all continue to cater for those not accessing digital. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. Honourable Ronald Coleman.
Just to say, thank the Chief Minister for a reply. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honourable Andrew Turner.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can the Honourable Chief Minister say if any consideration has been given to utilising more of the 4G network available in Ireland, particularly for emergency communications?
Thank you very much, Honourable Chief Minister.
I think, to be quite honest with you, yes, the comms team will be involved in this, but that's more to do with Minister Alec's portfolio under the emergency response. I'm trying to think what the emergency response under what is it called? Before I forget the right word, it is the disaster management. Thank you. That's what I was trying to remember. Disaster management, that is headed up by Safety, Security and Home Affairs. But I can't tell you what they're working towards at this present time, but I'd like to think that that would be considered, and I'm sure if it isn't, then Minister Alec can talk with his portfolio to determine if that's a way forward.
Okay, thank you very much. Honourable Andrew Turner.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just one more quick one would be, has any thought been given to the use of AI in SHG communications, and is there being any policies developed in that area?
Thank you very much. Honourable Chief
Thank you,
Minister.
Mr. Speaker. I think we are preempting what the communication strategy will bring out. So I don't quite know the detail of that. And as I said before, the Comms Hub are in the midst of collating all of that data. So I haven't seen what that strategy is going to look like. I think it's only fair to give them some time. They've been without a comms team manager for quite a period of time, and we've now got the head of comms in position, but she only started last month. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Okay, and thank you very much. And it seems like going forward, I will need to update my digital skills, which are nil at the moment. Next question, please.
The Honourable Carl Thrower.
The Honourable Carl Thrower.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would the Honourable Chief Minister tell this Council what was the rationale behind establishing an SHG communications hub?
Thank you very much. Honourable Chief Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think it is recognised that communication is key for any organisation, and it also demonstrates SHG's desire to incorporate the national goals in respect of openness, transparency and informing the public. The Communications Hub, which was once known as the Public Relations Office or the PR, that office, now we're looking at Communications Hub to take into consideration the change, especially, as I said before, in regards of digital. So the Communications Hub has incorporated all communication functions that include marketing, branding, internal communications, external communications, digital media, and we are in the midst of encouraging portfolios and service providers to centralise their information to ensure the messaging is clear, impactful, aligned with the branding guidelines and consistent. So bringing it all in-house, making the Communications Hub a one-stop shop, if I can call it that, will hopefully ensure that there isn't any mixed messaging and it is consistent. Instead of, if you go to portfolios, you could be speaking to different people within the portfolios, and depending on what level they're at, it could lead to mixed messaging. So the Communications Hub is there, as it suggests, as a central support function.
Thank you very much. Honourable Carl Thrower.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Could the Honourable Chief Minister say what steps have been taken to ensure that by centralising it, the processes of communication from the portfolios towards the centre of the hub will be speedy and efficient?
Thank you very much. Honourable Chief Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. That is something I will honestly say has been missing, but that is also, I think, because the Comms Hub had 2 people. So now they've got a full team. This is something I know that the team are very keen to progress and develop in. And only last week, we had the communications team come to one of our cabinet meetings, and ministers have now supported the comms team in saying that on our portfolio advisory boards, whenever decisions are taken at advisory board level, if it's not for executive council business, we will ensure that there is a communications item on the agenda so that our portfolio assistants then will be responsible for updating the communications hub, obviously with feed-in and direction provided from the portfolio director and the minister.
Thank you
Thank
very much. Minister Henry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just to back up the Chief Minister's answer to that question, I think we have to look at communications as well within SHG as sort of two levels. There's a level of strategic communication. As the Chief Minister just mentioned, we know when we have on our advisory boards, we should inform the communications hub that these things are coming, but there's also communication which is of a more emergency nature or something that or unpredictable. So it isn't only about the communications hub, it is also about portfolios and portfolio directors and learning between us to communicate in such a manner that the communications hub is updated on the strategic stuff, but also responsive enough to be able to act to events that happen as and when. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much for that. Next question, please.
The Honourable Gillian Brooks.
The Honourable Gillian Brooks.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can the Honourable Chief Minister update this Council on what is the current situation in regards to the branding initiative and the creation of Brand St. Helena?
Thank you very much, Honourable Chief Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the Honourable Gillian Brooks for the question. So Brand St. Helena was launched on St. Helena's Day celebrations that was held on the 19th of May through the Celebrating St. Helena booklet, which was shared with all elected members prior to its launch. Our previous head of marketing also presented the booklet to FCDO in the UK, and they were very complimentary of the booklet. The UK representative also has a digital copy of this booklet. Our overseas PR firms have copies, example Finn Partners and Big Ambitions, so they utilise it. The brand manager was appointed in March of this year, and her primary focus has been the rollout of that booklet, and it's currently available now on the SHG website since the 21st of May, our National Day. Hard copies of the booklet is arriving soon, and I'm told it may well be as soon as the last ship that arrived, so it might well be in storage at the moment. St. Helena Tourism has adopted the values and branding of Celebrate St. Helena booklet in terms of the taglines used, breath of fresh air, I'm sure everybody is aware of that, the colours utilised, the visual guidelines, and the messaging. The brand manager position is a brand new role, and metrics to guide the role needs to be compiled and implemented, which will take time. So after the booklet has now been rolled out, we need to give it some time to embed and to understand if there's more improvements or developments that can be made. The brand manager is now focusing on the separation of the destination marketing, which is very much what Celebrating St. Helena booklet was about, and now focusing on the corporate branding, so the branding for St. Helena Government as an organisation, looking at St. Helena as a place to do business and invest. But that is in the making at this time. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honourable Gillian Brooks.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Chief Minister, do you know at the moment what costs has been incurred with the new brand? Or is that not able at the moment?
Honourable Chief Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I don't have those figures at hand at this present time. I'm sure it will be quite easy to be able to determine what the cost of the booklet was, for example, but there will be a line in our budget to talk about what branding will cost, but I don't have that with me today.
Thank you very much.
Just to say thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I understand costs may not be available right now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honourable Andrew Turner.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would the Honourable Chief Minister be able to say, will the brand St. Helena be used on all SHG communications, both local and international?
Thank you very much. Honourable Chief Minister.
Thank you, and I thank the Honourable Andrew Turner for his question. I think yes will be the answer, but it will have to be determined whether it is the destination marketing brand or the corporate brand. So at the moment, you will see that a lot of the destination marketing is being utilised, but there will be separation because it will look different to somebody trying to make St. Helena attractive to making St. Helena attractive for business, etc. So there will be a separation.
Okay, thank you very much for that update. Next question, please.
The Honourable Andrew Turner.
The Honourable Andrew Turner.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I will sit down at some point. Can the Honourable Chief Minister tell this Council what strategies are employed to ensure that local advertising and communications are effective, impactful and understandable by the community?
Thank you very much. Honourable Chief Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So we've had feedback from previous two public communication surveys. One was carried out in 2019 and another in 2023. The result of the surveys will determine and inform next steps and implementation of the updated communication strategy that is alluded to, which is, as I said before, the head of Com's priority, bearing in mind that she's only been in post for a month. We'll also be looking at the interaction with SHG staff, which I kind of focused on when I answering Honourable Carl Thrower's question, whereby we're talking about more communication and interactiveness with the comms team from all portfolios, etc., whether strategic or more on a events or operational basis. We'll be collating data to determine how impactful the information being publicised is to the end user. We're measuring reach, engagement and areas for improvement or to develop. A writing style guide for all communications was implemented by SHG earlier this year to improve the content and the way in which we communicate across portfolios. So it's about format again, making it more interactive and community focused. We also have our in-scope programs that ministers do on a weekly basis, which is very much a communication, but a conversational communication, talking about work being undertaken in our respective portfolios. We undertake interviews on both stations, and I know that the comms team are improving their interaction with the media via a central source. So the media are contacting the comms team to ensure, and then it is the comms team's responsibility to then reach out to the relevant officers or minister, instead of directing questions to portfolios, and that ensures consistency and to reduce mixed messaging. The desire to improve the utilisation of the comms team by the wider SHG is there to ensure that all new policies or events are communicated timely and effectively to the comms team. And I think that is important, as we touched on before, because at times, I am guilty of it ourselves. In education, we'll think this is the way to communicate something, and then by the time we engage with comms team, the public potentially knows of it, and then it's almost like a reactive messaging going out, and we'd like it to be more proactive to ensure that good information is in the public domain. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. Honourable Andrew Turner.
Well, firstly, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank the Honourable Chief Minister for that response. I too am a big fan of communicating things as early as possible. So since the cable, and we've got all this sort of access to uncapped data now, has any thought or research been given to reaching the local market through digital advertising?
Thank you very much. Honourable Chief Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, we have. I know that at the moment Facebook has been very active, I'd have to say, and I would mention specifically the tourism element of it. There's short videos, there's prompts going out now to remind people that a policy has been taken and giving key messaging just to continuously update. There is room for improvement with regards to the prompts, because sometimes if I use certain policies that is approved at executive level or even in portfolio level, some things may not seem as interesting to the public at the time until concern comes up, and then we can at least look back and say, well, these prompts are going out. So again, though, is very much left down to the portfolios to provide the comms team with those prompts so that, because we should know within our portfolios or indeed at executive council level, which would be deemed key information. So that is something I know that we are doing, but something that we'd like to improve upon. And I'm sure the head of comms will take into consideration more digital ideas as reviewing the comms strategy.
Thank you very much. Honourable Carl Thrower.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Could the Honourable Chief Minister say whether consideration has been given to things such as putting subtitles onto videos and things like that when we go on the TVs, doing documents and that in different colours for people with disabilities to do with how they read different colours and things like that, just basically to make sure that we have the most effective communications with people and that they are as impactful as possible.
I see. Okay, thank you. Honourable Chief Minister.
I thank the Honourable Carl Thrower for his question, and I'm sure, again, the Comms Hub will take this into consideration. Colour is going to be a bit of a difficult one if we're talking about branding as well, so that will need to be taken into consideration, because if colours are being chosen as a brand and then you're changing it to think of other disabilities, I'm sure they'll have to consider those type of things. Subtitles could be more of a consistent approach, because it's something I know they have done in the past. So maybe going forward when reviewing the strategy, that could become a consistent approach to the way in which we communicate.
Thank you very much. Minister Henry, first.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Again, just to support the Chief Minister. So just to answer, first of all, mention to my honourable friend Carl Thrower, that in terms of those type of disabilities, I am one who you see walking around with yellow papers every time I have to read because I suffer from dyslexia. I think in the community at right now, it is probably we're at the stage where we need to educate the community on these particular things before we start throwing colours at them. Because if you get something in a digital format, what I do is just put yellow behind it because I can read it. So I think it's about education as well. I think on the second point, based on the Councillor Turner's question, I think what we can't miss is that the people sitting around this table are effectively employed to be communicators. So we need to take the stuff that we learn or policies or stuff which is more technical, turn that into a way that we can communicate to the public so that they can effectively understand what we're trying to do and say. So I think, holding SHG as the administration to account for communication sits well within our roles and capacity as well. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much, and I've made a note of that comment. Effectively employed to be communicators. Great stuff. Honourable Dr. Corinne Essex.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can the Honourable Chief Minister confirm that in the review of the strategy, efforts will be made to make job advertisements look more attractive and eye-catching? Because I have raised this issue previously, and I think it is very important that this is moved forward. So can you please indicate your support for that?
Thank you very much. Honourable Chief Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honourable Dr. Corinne Essex, I will publicly put my support there. I think it will be addressed, as I said, as part of the branding as well, because that will then look at the guidelines in place for writing, etc., but also the colour schemes, and I'm sure that the team will ensure that that is addressed going forward.
Thank you very much. And Honourable Carl Thrower, I think I may have done you injustice. I think your light was on, but I missed you. Do you wish to speak?
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, actually I was going to raise just on a point of information that I think is important for the public to realise as well. Currently, any video you watch on YouTube automatically puts subtitles on it, for example, which I think is a fantastic feature. But as the Honourable Minister said earlier, it's about us telling people about these developments, not just the developments that we do on our digital platforms, but also any that we notice that come in on other digital platforms that people can easily access.
Thank you very much for that information. Next question, please.
The Honourable Elizabeth Knight.
The Honourable Elizabeth Knight.
Thank you, Carl. can the Honourable Chief Minister tell this Council what plans are in place for the development of a new SHG website?
Thank you very much, Honourable Chief Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the Honourable Elizabeth Knight for the question. So, as all elected members know, funding was approved in the budget, not this year, the year before, for the redevelopment of the SHG website. Unfortunately, due to staffing constraints, etc., it was rolled over into this financial year. But we are hoping that the redevelopment of the government website will facilitate, as I mentioned before, online payments in the future, automatic or automation completion of forms, so you can go online and do it, to have a central information service for SHG, making it a one-stop shop. We're hoping it will be more interactive and easier to navigate and more user-friendly. I think we've had many questions or comments being placed in the House by the Honourable Dr. Corinda Essex about how difficult it is to navigate the SHG website. The procurement process has identified a preferred bidder and work is ongoing, and I can tell you that the contract is currently with the AG's chambers for final sign-off, so progress is being made there. So, as I said, the main reason for a new SHG website is to make it more interactive, easier to navigate, and more user-friendly.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Honourable Elizabeth Knight.
Now say it.
Sorry.
Oh, you just wanted to say thank you. Okay. Thank you very much. Are there any...
Yeah.
Honourable Carl Thrower.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would the Honourable Chief Minister be able to say whether we're talking about a single website or whether we're talking about a group of websites, for example, one for SHG, one for tourism, etc., when we're considering this, when we're talking about the contract and the tender?
Are you able to answer that, Honourable Chief Minister?
Getting a little bit operational here, so I don't know the detail, Mr. Speaker, but I can assure you that there will be two somewhat culminated into one that will be, I think it's going back to the branding, so one will be corporate and one will be focused on tourism.
Okay,
Thank you very much. And Honourable Andrew Turner.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just one point I'm a little bit confused by. Will the Honourable Chief Minister be able to say, we're currently developing a new communication strategy, but we're also starting the contract, or the contract's in a draft phase now for a new website. So will there at some point need to then be a change to the new website to reflect the new communication strategy?
Thank you very much. Honourable Chief Minister.
No, there will not be a change in the new website. We haven't started yet. We're doing some work behind the scenes in making sure that we've got the website designer there, but the detail of such will come in line with the communication strategy.
Thank you very much. No further questions? Well, that then brings us to the end of Minister's question time. And Honourable Elizabeth Knight, in good time for you to go out and to the airport and bring your son back, if of course the plane gets in. But thank you very much. Yes, you may leave. Yeah, go ahead. Well, yes, she has been asked, can she be excused? Yes. Thank you very much. So, honourable members, that then concludes Minister's question time for October. Thank you. And thank you also to all those listening in the public who took time to do that. We trust you found the questions submitted and answers provided both interesting and informative. I certainly did, and that you are now better informed as a result. As usual, we will look forward to, with much anticipation from the public, for their feedback. In closing, I would like to thank SAMS for broadcasting the proceedings live, and all being well, they will be rebroadcast. Just a sort of little comment from me, really. I thought the questions were going to be difficult to answer, and they weren't difficult to answer. And I think it just shows how important Minister's question time is and how it is developing. And thank you all very much. Have a good day ahead.